Hey, everybody. Welcome to Dump and Dish, episode 10.
Yep.
Coach Zane, how we doing today?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
I got no complaints. Good skates today,
Yeah.
like in the camp. Shooting and stick handling camps, always a fun camp. One of my favorites.
Those are fun. They're a lot of fun to watch the kids. Again, I say this every week from, Monday to Friday. What a difference the players and just breaking down the skills piece by piece, building them up. Some of them couldn't shoot at all.
Yeah.
We finished today, and most of the kids are at least lifting the puck a little bit, and with power too, not just
not flipping,
breaking the flip shot, and actually developing power behind that shot. So it's not a rainbow; it's actually flying like a frisbee. So it's pretty cool to see those shots and watching them get better.
We had a funny one today. Kid came out with his little brother's stick. It was hilarious. It was like a foot and a half. His little brother's a 6U. Yeah. And he's, I think, 13.
Yeah.
12 or 13. That was pretty funty.
Did he not want to own up that he forgot his stick at home?
No. He just didn't have a stick. So that was the only stick they had was he had to use a little brother's stick.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. We gave him one of our high schooler sticks. It worked out a lot better.
Coach Emma got stuck with the little stick moving pucks around.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Big thing on the docket today, Florida. Champs.
Oh,
somebody owes me some push-ups.
I do. I owe you 20.
Everybody, you'll get a video of that later this week. Coming out next week. I'll make sure that comes out.
Yeah, I'll get the 20 push-ups in.
That's right. That's right. On video.
On video. Yep. We'll do it on video.
What'd you think of it? The series in general, not just the last game.
Man, just what a fun series to watch.
Oh, my goodness.
And every period was a different period throughout the whole series. So. You couldn't even miss a period. I tried to watch as much as I can, but, with hockey and everything else going on, and kids and everything else, I didn't get to watch all of it, which I would have loved to.
Yeah.
Probably worth even going back and rewatching it. I loved how many skills you've done in detention with Coach Switz and the homework that were used in the games.
Pretty neat, right?
To score goals. The forehand, backhand, forehand, like. The toe drag,
drag release, yeah.
The 1-2 moves, like
sweeping and pushing, just watching them go down the ice with their feet moving and stick handling.
Yeah,
it's the little things.
It's the things that we work on with the 6-year-old that still is applicable to the NHL game. Yeah,
fundies.
It's faster.
The fundies don't change, Coach. We had that chat. The fundies don't change.
And it's nothing more complex than what we teach. I mean, exactly what we teach is what Bennett, or I think it was
Bennett. Yeah.
Bennett used.
What's his face who had 4 on the last game? He used a backhand forehand.
And the puck protection. We just had that camp last week or the week before, and Marchand sneaks through on that face-off, grabs the puck, gets body position on the defenseman to the inside. How many times have we preached to our defense, stay inside the dots, quit chasing outside, cut the ice in half. You only have to protect the middle of the ice. Quit chasing people outside the dots, cuts to the inside, gets them to draws them to the outside, cuts to the inside, gets body position, and then keeps that body position all the way in and buries the puck. So
unbelievable.
The fundamentals we're seeing left and right. And that's Florida's game. There's not a lot of flash. We're going hard to the net. Every line is crashing the net, create chaos inside of the house, and good things happen when you create.
Win the corners.
And just good things happen when you create chaos in the offensive zone. Chaos in the offensive zone is amazing, and it is deadly in your defensive zone. If you're stuck and there's chaos going around, you're in trouble. It is tough to play hockey. Yep. And they are just experts at creating that chaos. And then they won out. We talked about it before where, Oilers needed to rely on their top players in skill, fast hockey. And Florida did a great job of drawing them into the rough and tumble battles in front of the nets. And that was Florida's game. And they won that chess match.
And Barkov kept McDavid quiet the whole series. They get 1 goal, a couple assists, few assists, but that's pretty much keeping him silent.
Yeah, no, he's going to get a couple on you in the series. But, at the end of the day, they won the chess match of what type of game is going to be played period by period. And there were periods where the Oilers were able to get them running and gunning, and that's when they were very successful. Yeah. But for the most part, Florida controlled it, was able to establish a forecheck early, and if they could do that early in the periods, they were winning that period. The periods that they struggled, they did not establish that forecheck and keep the puck down deep and create that chaos. And then the Oilers were able to play the quote-unquote pretty game back and forth with them and was able to capitalize on those periods.
Florida never looked like they were under pressure or had any sort of, oh man, we're in a bad spot. None of those feelings you could see.
No, they had the confidence. The Oilers were flipping goalies and doing weird stuff. They were the ones that were scrambling from behind, trying to find the secret answers to the test instead of just sticking with the game plan. They just kept changing their makeup and roster moves,
guys in and out, moving, and watching Kane go up and down the lineup. He couldn't stay out of the penalty box. Shocker.
Yeah. So. No, they were definitely a mess, and Florida kept them on the ropes, and that's going to win the series.
Great series, fun to watch. Love seeing, you make one mistake, Florida just puts it in the back of the net every time.
Yeah, and now comes one of my favorite times of the year where they actually come out and tell you what was wrong with everybody, and it just reinforces how amazingly tough it is to play in the NHL at that level, day in and day out through the playoffs, and hearing about Tkachuk was his adductor ripped off the bone and like a hernia.
That definitely doesn't sound painful.
Yeah, and so, and was in past years he had the broken sternum that Brady was getting him out of bed. Like, you hear about those stories that they have to keep quiet about so, they don't get injured more.
Yes, so nobody targets it.
Yeah, but, at the end of the day, I always do love reading the reports, after the series are over of, like, what was really going on with players. Because we even talked about, we're like, oh, man, Matthew's just not quite the same. He's not mucking it up.
Yeah, he's running from the scrum. He's usually first man in the scrum.
Well, and you look at, like, if there was a line that, Bennett to Chuck Marchand line, what a rat line that is. Just like, those three could just muck it up with anybody. And, he just wasn't a part of that. And that just showed me, it's not his personality to just go away. He just wasn't injured. And now we're learning about those things.
Well, and you heard Maurice, I don't know if you heard his post, I guess, Stanley Cup press conference, he was so impressed with Matthew. Like, that problem started in the beginning of the playoffs. And he just worked his way through to, by the end of it, as you saw, his last few games were his best few games.
Yeah.
So he didn't go out. He learned to manage it well.
Yes.
I think he learned a lot last year with the, whatever that big injury was.
The sternum.
Yeah, the sternum. I think he learned a lot in that. Now we got a winner of the bracket challenge, Coach.
Okay.
Wally, 5605. I got a message for Mr. Wally, 5605. Please contact us. We do not have your email or phone number or anything like that on social, so we're looking out for you. We're going to put a post out online. Want to get you your new stick, anything you want up at Pure Hockey. That's going to be fun.
Yep.
Excited for that. And then, I don't know, I'm thinking I wasn't dead last, though, Coach. So as long as I didn't come in dead last.
Yeah, we were both in the bottom 10%.
That's all right. Yeah. Dead last is one thing.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing.
Yep.
And I thought it was it was fun. I definitely enjoyed it. We'll definitely have to do that again next year.
For sure.
Next thing, big topic for today. How do we handle a car ride home with the kiddos? After a game, you're unhappy with how they played. How do you handle that? We'll start there.
So, for me personally, if they ask about the game, I will be open and honest of what I thought. I also tried to spin that back on what did you feel, because I want them to start to be able to self-reflect and go through a game and decide if it was a good game or a bad game. And we're going to have good games and we're going to have bad games, and that's okay. But I also say, like, before I answer that, how do you think you feel? How do you think you played? Like, how do you feel about that? And let them start to play through the game in their mind of, okay, I struggled, or that was a good game or a bad game. And then I'll give them my feedback too of three things that, it's kind of the old sandwich of, like, good, bad, good. Like, here's a couple things that I thought you did well. Here's things that we could get better at, and then finish it up with, and these were also some things that you did well. So we can deliver that where they hear the positive, that opens their brain up to learn. Then we give them what we want them to work on, and then we close it with a good thing so that they don't, fester on that. But, I can sneak in there 2 or 3 things that I want them to work on and get better at or focus on for the next game. And a lot of times at my kids' levels, it's an effort thing.
I think at a lot of kids' levels, Coach. I don't think it's just the little guys.
No, I would say I would be a trillionaire if I could come up with a pill that made them go 100 miles an hour all the time. Like, just try the hardest, and that drives parents crazy. And I can say that
coaches also.
Yeah, well, and it just that just comes with age. That's just maturity level and age. You get a few kids where that light switch goes on at a very young age, and the problem is you try to compare your kid to that kid, and that's just luck. Like, those kids, just the light switch goes on, and they're ready to play 90% of the time, where other kids at that age level are ready to play 20% of the time. And so I try to make sure that I'm not beating them up on that as much as, like, skill or plays or things like that we can change right away. Saying skate harder doesn't mean a lot to a younger kid. What what is that? And I try to turn it into like, okay, so when that person beats you wide, you just kind of stop skating. Let's make sure we skate with them when they do that.
At least transition and pause.
At least put pressure on them, because if they make a mistake, then you're there to pick up the puck. Or if there's a rebound, you're there to pick up the puck. Instead, you let them go wide. They beat you. They took the shot. There was a rebound, and then they put in the rebound. So I try to make sure that it's concrete situations, not subjective where, it's skate harder. That doesn't mean anything. Or, you just didn't try.
Go.
Yeah. And you hear that scream from the stands, second only to shoot.
Yes.
But, just trying to give them examples of where they could have done better. I mean, even in the most extreme circumstance of that, I can remember playing with Peter Stosny growing up, with Paul, and Peter would grab him after every game and would go through the game and step by step of what he could have done better in every situation. But everyone was a concrete example of, on this faceoff, you did this, you should have done this. When you went wide with the puck here, you did this and you should have done this. It wasn't an effort thing. It was giving him the exact examples on the ice where he might have done something that could have been better.
What you'd see in our video review.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And walking him through that. And he just did that in the lobby after every game. I'm not saying that's the answers to this test. But for me, I try to do that with 2 or 3 examples to help them get better, and then it's over. So on the car ride home, and then I have to switch back into I'm a dad.
Yeah.
Where are we going to go get ice cream, or where are we going to go?
Who wants Chick-fil-A?
Who wants to go on the bike ride when we get home? Type of thing. But at the end of the day, like, you get a couple minutes with them. We talk through, again, good, bad, good, and then move on.
I listened to a guy who said he always starts it with, I just enjoy watching you play, first and foremost. Awesome. And then he goes on from there. So they know that, I'm on your team. The happiest thing is just watching you play and having a good time. I thought that was a nice little start the combo with that. And I think it puts everybody at a good spot.
I think I'm going to have to use that. I really like that. Is there was one guy online who talked about, he was kind of in my situation where he was coach and dad.
Yeah.
And it was baseball, and he had 2 different hats. And so whenever he was when he'd get to the ball field, he put on his coaching hat, the team hat, and his personal hat would go on the dashboard.
Yep.
When we get into the car and we talked about things, the coach hat was still on, but as soon as that was over, that was the switch that he showed his kids, that he switched hats and put on his personal hat. And then the game was done, and I'm back in 100% dad mode. I'm here for you, and whatever we're gonna do as a family or whatever. And then
game's behind us. We're on to having fun now.
And then next game or practice or whatever, that hat would switch again. Hockey's a little different with a helmet. I'm not wearing a helmet on the way home. But people next to us would look at us a little weird. But I did like that approach. That it was a very clear and concrete way of switching from dad to coach, and I'm always trying to make sure that I balance that well with my kids.
Yeah.
That's
a good point.
I get to be coach to thousands of kids. I'm dad to 2, and I got to make sure that I'm good at switching those out.
Yeah, I hear that. What about after a good game? We did bad game. How do we dial in on the good games?
Again, there's always something to work on. The praise is probably more in that situation. When we have a good game, hey man, I really loved how you played. I love starting it. I just love watching you play.
Yeah.
But man, this was a really good game that you guys played. I'm super, super happy. Just watching you play that way and reinforcing that and
bring it back to the couple weeks it might not have been so good.
Yeah.
As we checked these boxes, we finally got through these boxes.
Yeah.
This is what made us successful.
We're building and really focused on a couple key moments, and then again, getting away from it, because there's going to be a bad game that follows it at some point. So
for sure,
I also don't want them looking for me for validation. So I also want them to recognize when they have a good game. How do you think you played? And if they're like, yeah, I played great, I was like, awesome. I agree with that 100%. But there's going to come a time when I'm not there to give them that validation in life, and I want them to start realizing when they do things well and when they struggle with things, and that's
reflection.
Part of
reflection,
100%, and not relying on somebody else to give them that feedback that they can do it themselves.
Yeah, I like it. Well, Coach, that's all I got for episode 10. Thursday in the books. Anything before we get out of here?
No, it's been a great summer so far. We got 1 more week before our 4th of July break.
That's going to be nice. I'm excited for that.
Yeah. So, and
a lot of bumps and bruises this year for me.
Yeah, just looking forward to the rest of summer camps and continuing to grow these hockey players here in St. Louis, and and video coaching is really taking off. That's been really cool to see.
That's awesome to see it working in the facility.
With our facility, if you do a lesson, you get a free 1-minute review of video. So starting to see a lot of clients take advantage of that. Coach Joe's really been working hard on doing those video reviews.
Stick taps, Coach Joe.
Yep, and so super happy with how that's going and hearing great things from that.
Nice.
Having parents, having parents that catch me at the rink and are like, hey, by the way, like, really love that you guys are offering video now. And it's more of a didn't realize how cool that is until we did it.
Yeah.
And then they did it once, and it was like, wow, we get instant feedback just like we talked about. Only the kids get to watch it, and then they watch it again and again and again on their iPad. Yep. And it's not me in the car.
Yeah, griping at them. Yeah. You weren't first in the corner, but you could have been.
Yeah, and it's an outside coach too. It's also not dad then.
Yep.
It's Coach Joe doing that, and they don't get to pick his retirement home. So there's something there with that too, of letting them be the coach and telling the players what to do better, and they take that so much more.
Yep.
Or so much better. So
awesome. Well, Wally, reach out, find us. We'll be looking for you. Let's get you that stick.
Yeah.
And episode 10 in the books. See ya.
See ya.